Breaking news for you. Supreme Court had just ruled in favor of Texas in their congressional maps in a 6-3 ruling. Also, Letitia James, DOJ has failed to re-indict her. And finally, the FBI just released the identity of the suspect they arrested in the January 6th pipe bombing case. Make sure you like this video, share this video, leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. Let's start here.
We have more breaking news tonight, and it's a major victory for President Trump in his push to redraw congressional districts in an attempt to keep Republicans in control of the House. The Supreme Court has sided with Texas GOP legislators, allowing them to use their newly drawn congressional map in next year's midterms, which will likely result in 5 Democratic-held seats flipping to Republicans. A lower court had blocked the new map, finding that the new boundaries were likely drawn on unconstitutional racial considerations. Joining me now is CNN's Jeff Zeleny. So obviously a major ruling. What's the court's argument for doing this?
Anderson, a major victory for the Trump White House and the president himself, who, of course, has engineered this nationwide redistricting push that is unprecedented. But the court is saying, look, the lower court had no jurisdiction here to weigh in on this. They say the Texas legislature decided these new districts based on politics, not on racial gerrymandering. The lower court, including a Trump appointee, just a few weeks ago, ruled in a different way. They said that they believe that racial gerrymandering was the heart of this. But the Supreme Court delivering this decision tonight is the final word on this. So now it means that the Texas districts are going to be as they were always planned to be in this newly designed system.
All right, so here's what you need to know before we get to the rhetoric. Because of this ruling, which is a major win for Republicans nationwide, and of course President Trump, especially going into the midterms, we got 38 total new districts for Texas, 30 that's supposed to go to Republicans, 8 supposed to go to Democrats. When I say that, it's because of the 2024 presidential results. That's what their expectations are. Now, just to be objectively fair here, if the Supreme Court ruled this way, which they did, they should probably rule the same way as it pertains to California, because there's a lawsuit against them from the Trump DOJ. At any rate, MSDNC doesn't like this ruling. In fact, they're making it all about race. Isn't that interesting? Take a listen.
A few things here that stand out for me. One, the Supreme Court put itself in the position of the district court. It should not have done so. It is not its role, and they basically slapped the district court, unfortunately, the way Simone just described. The other thing that I find frustrating is essentially, for me, I'm looking at the disintegration of civil rights at the hands of a party and a political philosophy that once existed within that party that elevated those civil rights. When you think about the Republican leaders who stood in the breach to get us the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments, to fight with Democrats to get the civil rights passages made in the 60s, now dismantling that. And basically saying in no uncertain terms, it's okay to push black and brown people and communities of color into a corner in their representation. And that makes no sense to me at all.
Well, what he just said doesn't make sense to me at all. And the reason why is because it's not always about race as much as they want it to be. Sometimes it is just about good old-fashioned partisanship, okay? It really is that way. And if you're going to say that about Texas, why are you not saying that about California? Just be consistent. Okay, here's what the Attorney General Pam Bondi had to say. Let me scroll up here. Federal courts have no right to interfere with a state's decision to withdraw legislative maps for partisan reasons. A federal district court ignored that principle 2 weeks ago, and the Supreme Court correctly stayed that overreaching decision tonight. Congratulations to Texas for advancing the rule of law. My Solicitor General, John Sauer, and our team of lawyers for their excellent brief supporting Texas in this important case. And here's the bottom line, folks. If you want to criticize what's happening here, the criticism isn't necessarily what Texas is doing. The criticism is the law that allows them to do it, a law that was passed by Congress themselves. If they don't like it, they should seek to change it. Just saying.
In LA, the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, a Republican, just said, quote, in the face of Democrats' attempt to abuse the judicial system to steal the U.S. House, I have defended Texas's fundamental right to draw a map that ensures we are represented by Republicans. The big, beautiful map will be in effect for 2026, unquote. The same issue is going through the courts after California voted in favor of redrawing its maps in response to what Texas is doing. How might the U.S. Supreme Court decision impact the Trump Justice Department's lawsuit against California?
Well, Jake, if this decision is applied consistently, it's good news for California. It's good news for any state that wants to change its map, that wants to gerrymander. Important to know, a couple years ago, the U.S. Supreme Court came out with a controversial opinion where they essentially said, we, the federal courts, are basically out of the gerrymandering business. That's for the politicians. That's not for us in the courts. Really, the court's only very limited role, and this was reinforced today, is to make sure there is not a racially discriminatory gerrymander. Now, there was disagreement among the justices today about whether Texas did that or not. But basically what this decision is signaling is that any state that wants to go ahead and change its congressional districts, even mid-decade, like is happening right now, even if it's for partisan advantage, this is really a green light. And heaven knows where this could go with other states that already are underway with their efforts, whether pro-Democrat or pro-Republican, or as Jeff Zeleny says, other states that might want to get in on that action.
All right, no question that this continues to demonstrate how much drama continues to happen in D.C. But this is not the same drama you should have with your financial future. The hard-earned money that you've been able to gather over the many years in your career, or whatever your retirement plans might be. This is why I encourage you to speak to my friends at Lear Capital today. It's education first. Education on precious metals investing. We're talking about gold and silver. Think about what silver is being used to build. AI, robotics, things of that nature. In fact, some people believe in 2026, silver is going to be in a bull market just like gold is today. Don't believe me? Just compare the value of gold and silver versus the value of the dollar. This is why you got to speak to the experts. I'm not the expert here. Lear Capital is. So call them 1-800-920-8388 or go to the link in the description below, leardevori.com. Mention my name. You could qualify for up to $20,000 in bonus silver or gold. And also, you're going to be able to download a free report called The AI Revolution and learn about silver and why prices should keep rising. Again, call 1-800-920-8388 or go to leardevori.com. All right, if we dive into the dissent from Justice Elena Kagan, she wrote that, quote, "This decision disrespects the work of a district court that did everything one could ask and also deserves the millions of Texans whom the district court found were assigned to their new districts based on their race." What's also interesting, in a separate concurring opinion pushing back on Kagan, conservative Justice Samuel Alito said that the plaintiffs challenging the map needed to do a better job of showing that race was the motivating factor by, among other things, producing their own map that would show the state's partisan goals could be achieved by other means. Now, here is what the governor posted. "We won. Texas is officially and legally more red. The Supreme Court restored the congressional redistricting maps passed by Texas that add 5 more Republican seats." And see, that's the only criticism that's worth any weight here, is that gerrymandering is legal. And also, time will tell whether or not Republicans take advantage of the opportunities they've been given here and come up with a clear message so that they can go into the midterms in the right position with the right momentum. Here's Vivek Ramaswamy talking about that very point. Take a listen.
Yeah, it hasn't really worked for the Republicans to just harp on how left-wing the Democrats are, right? That hasn't really worked. I mean, you know, we won the 7th district special election in Virginia by 9 points, but the Republicans have to put forward a positive, clear agenda and also be optimistic about the future. It can't just be Trump talking up the economy. The Republicans have to both do that and, don't you believe, push more policy that will advance this agenda and not just coast on Trump.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Defeating the left, we already did that in November of 2024, thanks to Donald Trump's victory. Now we got to focus on what do we actually stand for. And I think especially even states, even local elections and state elections have a lot of solutions headed into 2026. You want to bring down those electric bills, produce more energy in this country. It's the laws of supply and demand. You want to bring down the cost of housing, especially in cities? You got to release that red tape to be able to build more actual homes. You want to combat inflation? The government should stop spending so much money and put more money in people's pockets. These are tangible solutions.
So to bring this story full circle, again, if I was advising the White House, I'd be focused on growth. And that is growth that the American people can feel. That is growth when it comes to jobs. That is growth when it comes to housing that is available. Okay. That is also growth as far as training is concerned and accelerating the process of how someone can get into college and into an actual legitimate career that pays good money. I mean, these are things that I would be screaming about every single day because these are the things people can understand and also have an emotional connection to. And all the other stuff that the administration is doing is amazing. But at the end of the day, it still is the economy stupid, right? That's the proper term. All right, now let's go to this other ruling today that was interesting. A grand jury has declined to re-indict New York Attorney General Letitia James. Listen to it for yourself.
Yeah, Jake, my colleague Caitlin Pullins and I are hearing that today a grand jury declined to re-indict Letitia James on those mortgage fraud charges that the Justice Department has been seeking against her. And as you noted, in a case that was thrown out against her about 10 days ago, they made clear when that happened that they were going to try this again. But today, Jake, they have failed and did not secure a new indictment against the New York Attorney General, despite their best efforts today. Though we are hearing from sources that there should not be premature celebrations on this front, Jake, which likely means that they are going to try again.
And here is the statement that sounds exactly verbatim what she's always been saying in front of the cameras. I've said from the start, these charges are baseless. It's time for the weaponization of our justice system to stop. I'm grateful to the members of the grand jury and humbled by the support I've received across the nation. I will keep doing my job standing up for New Yorkers. Too bad you couldn't stand up to what was happening on the subway in that city, but okay, it's all good. Bottom line here, guys, the Trump administration is not going to stop, okay? You think the president's going to let this go? Absolutely not. I will say this, maybe this is what happens when they try to rush it. I believe they can definitely get another indictment against her. They got one before. I don't see why they can't do it again. I just think they need to get the paperwork in order and do it the right way.
But given what you pointed out there, that it's generally a pretty low bar for something like this, it's not clear if the Justice Department will be successful, when it will try again, or when exactly that is going to happen. And so this is certainly a blow to their efforts, as the president has made clear that he wants charges pursued here and he wants this investigation to continue. Yet time and time again, ever since the beginning of this indictment when it first happened, we have seen them continuing to face roadblocks here.
Yeah, so if I was in Pam Bondi's office or the president, I'd be like, listen, no more announcements regarding James Comey, Letitia James, Adam Schiff, Jack Smith, all these other criminals that went after you. No more announcements. Let's work in the shadows. Let's build up a solid case that won't be thrown out on day one and go to work. And then once we get an official indictment here, we can go ahead with an announcement, But I think what has happened over the past 10 months is there's been too many announcements, but not the results that follows up. And I think that is fair to say. Now, let's go to our next story. This was actually breaking news earlier today. According to the FBI, they have arrested Brian Cole Jr. He is the alleged suspect in the January 6th pipe bomb case. Listen to this.
We reported just a little while ago, the man that is in custody, his name is Brian Cole Jr., in his early 30s from Woodbridge, Virginia. That's where what we're being told, court-authorized activity is taking place right now, I should say. He was picked up earlier this morning, taken into custody, in federal custody right now. We're expecting to hear from Attorney General Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, and U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro at some point later today. And I will note that the FBI did have a reward of $500,000, a $500,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person behind this. So it's unclear if that may have played a role here. A lot of questions, though, still that we have as we await to hear from some of these leaders at the DOJ and FBI today.
Now, without getting too deep into it, just so you guys understand where I'm at with all of this, I'm not technically buying this entire announcement, okay? It was just about a month ago. The Blaze reported that it was a female. So I guess we're going to have to figure that out. Why did they say it was a female? Why did they deliver a story that, on the surface seemed much more believable than this one right here? I'm not saying they're lying. I'm just saying that we have some serious contradictions. And I guess this is the problem when you have alternative media and mainstream media talking about the same story. Now, I think the bigger problem is what happened on CNN when Jake Tapper went to describe the suspect. he called him a white man when he really looks like he's black. Take a look.
Welcome to The Lead. I'm Jake Tapper. After nearly 5 years of investigation, the FBI finally announced that they had arrested a suspect accused of planting pipe bombs near the Republican and Democratic National Committee headquarters the night before the January 6, 2021 Capitol attack. Brian Cole Jr., a 30-year-old white man from the D.C. suburbs, is charged with transporting an explosive device in interstate commerce and with malicious destruction by means of explosion. CNN observed local and federal law enforcement outside his home in Woodbridge, Virginia this morning. Attorney General Pam Bondi gave very few details about the suspect this morning, but said this cold case has been solved.
Today's arrest happened because the Trump administration has made this case a priority. Let me be clear, there was no new tip, there was no new witness, just good, diligent police work and prosecutorial work.
Now, does that look like a white man to you? Obviously not. I mean, I think it's a clear mess up. It's okay. I mean, we're not going to prosecute Fake Tapper for saying that. But I will say this. The main talking point right now from Democrats is that why is the FBI celebrating this? Don't they have better things to focus on? What took them so long? That's the rhetoric, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, the FBI is like, hey, we finally solved this. It took us, 4 years because the last administration didn't want to have anything to do with it. It only took us technically 10 months to figure this out. So I guess you're going to have to make up your mind on what you believe. Now, let's go to what one Democrat had to say. Take a listen.
I think it is good news if this perpetrator got arrested. But I got to tell you, it kind of makes me, looking at this crowd doing a victory lap, when all the senior FBI officials across all key divisions have been fired for political purposes, when in some field offices up to 45% of the FBI officers who were doing things like counter-espionage and cyber have been assigned to do immigration cases. It's a little rich that they're saying America's safer. How much earlier could we have caught this guy if resources hadn't been diverted? And I hope it would also remind folks that on January 6th, I was here at the Capitol on January 6th. It was an ugly, awful day. And this administration and this president basically pardoned all the perpetrators. It's that kind of picking and choosing of facts from this crowd that makes me a little bit crazy.
It's an accurate statement for them to say that America is safer under their watch. We've seen how many people they arrested during the summertime. We've seen what they've been doing or what has been done on the border. We see that ICE agents are going into neighborhoods and getting these criminals out. So yeah, I think they've done much more than the prior administration did. And let's remember, they got half the people on the most wanted list already in the first 10 months, when the FBI only arrested one person from that list over the past 4 years. I mean, the numbers show that this FBI is definitely engaged. They definitely are focused. They are targeted. They are getting results. Okay. Now, the problem is they have not been able to get some of the results that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino talked about when they were, outside of the public eye and more into the podcast realm. That's a legitimate criticism. Now, I think it may take time. Maybe they've learned some things that we don't know, but I'm not going to take any credit away from them. They've done some great work here. Now, let's go to the other side of the story. Here's Dan Bongino. Take a look.
This is not the end of the investigation, as you all well know, having reported on these for a long time. There's interviews to be conducted. The search warrant processing scene is not even done. So we're at the early stages. So that's the only reason I hesitate to tell you what the exact tip was. But yes, that was absolutely the moment. And it was due to the diligent and incredible work of a team in the Washington field office that came in and just scoured through this over and over and over and over again.
In general, was it forensic? Was it a phone call? Was it something about a vehicle?
We'll just leave it generally forensic evidence. Yeah, it's fair enough to say.
So maybe they'll release the evidence that supports that statement. I wouldn't hold my breath for it, of course. If they believe they got the right guy, I'm not going to sit here and try to tell everybody that they're liars. I'm just not going to do that. And this is the conundrum with being an American citizen today. After 9/11, we can't trust anything that the government says. And I think that is a legit way to think. Okay. So I guess they're damned if they do. They're damned if they don't. Let's just hope somewhere along the way that Dan Bongino and Kash Patel actually got the right person and they have definitive evidence to believe that they do have the right person. So obviously the investigation is not over, but that's not going to stop Fake Tapper from criticizing what led up to this point, particularly Blaze Media for reporting that it was a woman that was the alleged suspect. Take a listen to this.
The suspect in this pipe bomb case is a male, not a female, as Glenn Beck's far-right outlet, The Blaze, published in a report last month. The Blaze claimed that, quote, a forensic analysis of a female former U.S. Capitol Police officer's gait is a 94 to 98% match to the unique stride of the long-sought January 6 pipe bomb suspect, confirmed by several intelligence sources, unquote. The Blaze appears, at least based on today's actions, to have gotten that really wrong. An attorney for that woman vehemently denied the report. The Justice Department attorney denied a claim that he had determined she was the bomber. And now, weeks later, the FBI says the suspect is Brian Cole Jr., not the woman that the Blaze mentioned.
And you know what's fascinating about Fake Tapper making that statement? He should police himself when he called Brian Cole Jr., who definitely looks black, a white man. Isn't that funny? Isn't that interesting? I wonder if he's going to go back on air and make a correction. I don't know. But regardless of wherever you stand on the issue, I do believe that the FBI is doing much more work than the prior FBI, particularly the leadership, because they were more focused on going after Trump and anybody that was a part of January 6th. So it's interesting that, Mark Warner is talking about, oh, well, why are we focusing resources in this way? You have no leg to stand on. We saw the resources that were dedicated under the Biden administration. And it wasn't to make us safe, by the way. All right, let's hear more about the guy they arrested, particularly what the neighbors had to say. Take a look.
They said they often saw him out in the neighborhood walking his Chihuahua, but he was a very reclusive figure, never really interacted with people, almost was antisocial, in the words of one neighbor. They described him walking his Chihuahua for long walks frequently, several times a day, sometimes even at maybe 2 in the morning. One neighbor said he would never make eye contact with you. He would always wear headphones, never speak to you except to say hello. One neighbor had kind of a quirky account of him, saying that what stood out to him about the suspect was that even in the deadest of winter, in the coldest days, he'd be out in his shorts with red Crocs walking his dog. But a very reclusive figure is the picture we're getting of the suspect, even though he came from a family that the neighbor said was fairly friendly.
Okay, so I think it's a good time to hear from you guys in the comments section below to these stories. Number one, do you believe the FBI caught the actual January 6th pipe bomber? Okay, just give me your answer, yes or no, and explain why you have the answer that you do. Secondly, what do you make of Letitia James and her case being thrown out? At this point, they have failed to indict her again. I don't believe the Trump administration is going to stop. So the question is, do you believe she will get indicted? And finally, a big win for the Trump administration, particularly nationwide Republicans, because the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Texas regarding their congressional maps. Do you believe it's the right ruling? And do you agree that if people are going to complain, they should be focused on banning gerrymandering in general? Just give me all your thoughts and everything you got in the comments section below. Okay, so next video, protesters stormed a council meeting in New Orleans in an effort to protest the mass deportations that are underway there. In fact, the ACLU is now suing Louisiana because they believe obstructing Border Patrol agents from arresting illegal aliens is a violation of their free speech rights. I mean, it doesn't even make sense as I say it. So if you guys are interested in this story and more updates from earlier today, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.